Welcome everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm diving into a really important topic that many of us, including myself, can relate to, and that is inner child trauma. So my name is Sarita, and I help you awaken yourself through self-awareness, through healing and forgiveness, so that you can apply the law of attraction and really manifest your dream life. It's a journey that I'm onto, and I'll be sharing it with you along the way. What is working, what isn't working, what can be done differently, just so that you know where it's heading and the path that I've taken. I'll be exploring 5 signs that you might be suffering from inner child trauma. And the inner child is that little voice in our mind that we all have, and it tells us you can't do this, you don't deserve this, you're not worthy, who do you think you are, there isn't enough money out there. And it's all these thoughts that have a really detrimental effect on us if it's left untreated. And when you are not even aware that you have this little voice, because let me tell you, I actually didn't realize that this was happening to me for the best part of my life. And when I realized that I had this inner voice, then I had to do something about it. I had to change it, because this little voice was holding me back in all parts of my life. My relationships, my finances, my health, my fitness, my career. And this is for the beliefs that developed for me as a little girl of immigrant parents in the UK. And me being the eldest child too, and that too a girl, which is still frowned upon in the Indian community. So childhood trauma can show up in various ways, and these are some of the ways that some of the behaviors that showed up in my life. So first things first, we have emotional trauma, emotional reactivity. So if you ever find yourself having intense emotional reactions to certain situations, where you feel completely overwhelmed by emotions like anger, sadness, or anxiety, this can be a sign that your inner child is unresolved, and you are dealing with unresolved trauma. And for me, this showed up with me being angry most of the time with members of my family, and sometimes over trivial things that shouldn't have bothered me, like someone asking, what time are you coming home? It's a simple question, and instead of answering, I would feel the turmoil inside me and just flip and just get angry when being asked. And when I did the work, I realized that this stemmed from the time I started high school, and my parents weren't there to pick me up one day from school, so they'd asked me to come home on the bus. So at that time, I'd never been allowed to venture out on my own in buses, so I'd never travelled on my own, and I ended up at the wrong bus stop. So I left school slightly later than some of my friends, and when the bus came, because I was on the wrong bus, it was quite dark, the bus was empty. It wasn't a popular route, so out of fear, I didn't get on it. And then I thought there was none of the other buses, so I decided to walk to the next bus stop, which was the right one. And I eventually made my way home. But in this process, I was home about an hour or so later than scheduled. And when I got in, I was questioned, and I was made to feel that I had done something wrong just for coming late. My parents did it out of concern, but they told me off, and at the same time, it was like it was all my fault And that led to anxiety further down because I'd run to get to the bus in the future so I wasn't late. And I attracted this behavior from close people around me after I married. And even then, it gave me so much anxiety and so much anger. And as a result, I would just be angry at the fact that I was a grown woman and I couldn't be independent. Next is low self-esteem. And if you often struggle with feelings of worthlessness or inadequacy and engage in negative self-talk, it could be a sign that your inner child is hurting. So low self-esteem is a real killer, and I too have suffered with this. For me, this stemmed from school, when I used to get my homework back from my teachers, and it used to be covered with red pen marks all over it and a poor grade at the bottom. And even when I would spend hours and hours of time putting in the work, it just wasn't good enough. Week in, week out, this happened. And it continued across most of my subjects. Now, I know now that this may have been due to me being neurodivergent. I've never been diagnosed, and at this point, I don't think I want to be. But this experience, alongside many others, has totally left me not believing in myself, having that negative self-talk, that low self-esteem, and feeling totally inadequate. And it has come back to haunt me every time I have wanted to move out of my comfort zone and try something new. That little voice in my head has just stopped me from progressing. Another sign is perfectionism. So if you have a strong drive to be perfect in everything you do, fearing failure and often setting unrealistic standards for yourself, your inner child might be seeking validation through perfection. Again, going back to my example for low self-esteem, everything and every time the lesson came where homework was marked and returned, I would get a panic attack and feel anxious because I was fearing that my work was not good enough and that there would be red marks right the way across it. And this fear showed up with procrastination, overthinking, that everything needs to be correct before proceeding forward, and fear of being judged because I was concerned about what others would think of me. I would also find myself doing the same task several times, even though it was completed in the first attempt, in the fear that it's not done well and it's not correct and that I would be ridiculed. Self-sabotage is the next one that I'm going to talk about. Engaging in behaviors that undermine your own success and happiness, like procrastination, substance abuse, or staying in unhealthy relationships, often points to unresolved childhood issues. In my life, this has shown up where I've sabotaged a multi-figure business due to self-sabotage, and this is the one that I'm still working through, and I have lots of healing to do here to get to the bottom of it. I started dwelling on past events of feelings of failure, being stuck in my old patterns. I totally sabotaged myself and I had no support to move myself forward. I stopped getting back to clients, thinking I can't do this anymore, thinking my clients would reject me and my work, and this fear of rejection turned into a massive downward negative spiral, which lost me my business because I was the main person for the sales side of things, even though I had a team to do the work and do the deliverables. And this really makes me sad because I know my inner child is still in pain. But I know that I will have to do the work to heal myself. And I know something better will come to me. The last sign I'm going to discuss here is going to great lengths to avoid conflicts or confrontations and fearing rejection or disapproval. Now, I lived in an extended family, and here again, I remember hearing from various caregivers that I was not good enough and that I would never do it. Being a girl, I was always discouraged and told I wasn't allowed to do things like going out with my friends, just being celebrated. I was never celebrated as much as my brothers, and this led me to always fearing rejection and disapproval. I would find myself not asking for what I wanted because I would stipulate in my mind and convince myself that the response to my ask, no matter how big or small, would always be a no. And then to avoid the disappointment, I wouldn't ask, but instead I would just put myself through that turmoil. I'd get angry, I'd beat myself up mentally because I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't feel worthy of receiving what I wanted. And if any of these signs resonate with you, know that you're not alone. There are ways to heal and move forward, but understanding these signs is the first step towards addressing and overcoming the inner child trauma. And it's taken me years to understand this, but I know I can get through it because the first step is awareness, right? If you're not aware, how can you move forward? Because you will keep beating yourself up. Now let's talk about 3 steps you can take to start overcoming inner child trauma. And these are the steps that I've taken myself, and I can see that improvement in my life. So step 1, which you've just heard me say, is become aware of your trauma, the negative self-talk. Accept that you have feelings and that they are real, and that is the first step. And this is a journey all by in itself. So how have I realized? For me, it was a part of my business journey, but also it was about talking to people about what I had experienced and being open and honest with myself. There's no point sitting in denial. Journaling my thoughts on paper really helped, and I didn't realize how negative I was until I started doing this. Every day I would sit down, write down my thoughts, situations that upset me through the day, and then try to understand where that thought came from. It took a long time to get to where I am, so don't beat yourself up. You too can do this and understand your thought patterns and where they stem from. Getting into the habit of journaling in itself was actually really hard to do. There were days when I couldn't write, so I used my phone and I would send myself voice notes. So, they worked as well. And this is my advice: do whatever it takes, but you have to put in the work. And sometimes the thoughts have been too overwhelming and I've had to stop and come back to it. But that's been fine. The other thing is I've been very lucky to be able to speak with close friends and family members who've helped me process my feelings. And often I've sat and cried my thoughts out to help me process my thoughts and my feelings. So you need to stop sitting in denial and really start to do something about it. Take the action, become aware. Then secondly is practice self-compassion. So treat yourself with the same kindness and the understanding that you would offer a friend. Challenge your negative self-talk and replace it with affirmations and positive thoughts. So through my journaling, I became aware of my negative self-talk, my negative beliefs, and I've been turning these negative thoughts into positive thoughts and affirmations. But this has not been easy because you can't use negative words in those affirmations. So I remember that one thing that I often said to myself, and that is, I'm not going to ask because the answer is just going to be no. I was always looking for validation from people around me. So I changed this and made this into an affirmation. I always make my own decisions. Another is the fact that I can't afford it. It's too expensive. Again, I've changed this to I can afford it and it's mine. And you too can change your negative thoughts into positive affirmations that will work through repetition. I normally do this first thing in the morning and last thing before bed, because this is when the door to the subconscious mind is open and your mind absorbs these thoughts. It's really important to block out any negative thoughts before bed or first thing in the morning. And then step 3, meditation. So meditation has played a really important part of my healing journey. It's not just meditation, it's being mindful and just being in the present moment, because it's the memories of the past and the hope of the future, the dreams that you have of your future that keep you unhappy. And when you're in the moment, in the present moment, you're focusing on the now, and that is what really helps. So I've embraced the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is a Hawaiian technique where you set the intention and then heal through forgiveness. It's really good tool, and I've been able to pair it up with things in my routine, already in my routine, like when showering or when brushing my teeth. I've been able to really do this because it's 4 simple phrases, and those are: I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And really feeling the different emotions of the compassion, the forgiveness, the love and the gratitude through my body and in my heart center when doing this really helps. And I've also at times sat there with my hands placed on my heart, and this has been so powerful. I've got this meditation if you want to listen to it. It is life-changing. And by taking these steps, you can start to heal and free yourself from the grip of the inner child trauma. Remember, healing is a journey and it needs time. I am still in my earliest days with healing because I've spent a lot of time becoming aware of my problems. I'm also looking at therapy, and I will let you know what I decide to do, and I'll walk you through the process as I go through it. So stay tuned to see what I do. And this channel will be more of my healing and my transformation journey, so I can manifest the dream life that I want, the struggles as I uncover them, and how I navigate forward. I'll be sharing books and knowledge that I'm gaining through my journey of personal growth and self-awareness. If you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up, because this will give me the encouragement to keep going. Subscribe so we can move forward together, and comment below and let me know what's your story so I know that I'm not alone. Again, I just want to say I'm so grateful for your support through and through, and I look forward to this journey with you. Thank you so much, and I'm going to see you in the next one.